a moment of silence, if you please. All right, that'll do. Face the Raven. This is your one and only spoiler warning. I don't do spoiler free anymore. Still here? All right, let's get immediately to the elephant in the room. Clara! May she rest in peace. It has been a long time since we have had a companion death. Never in the course of modern era Doctor Who. I mean, I suppose if you want to stretch it a little bit, you could argue Amy and Rory, but I mean, dying of old age, just not traveling with the Doctor anymore, not quite the same thing as this. For me, I've gone on record multiple times that I've been done with Clara since before the series even started, so I'm not exactly gonna say I am sorry to see her go. And actually, I kind of saw it coming. Pretty much the instant she got that tattoo, she took it from Riggsy, and that number countdown on the back of her neck, just her attitude that she was so sure this was a good idea and that this was safe, but she was playing with life and death. I'm like, I don't think she's gonna make it out of this alive. So I hope that you realize the fact that I have been ready for her to leave for a while, that I saw it coming about midway through the episode, but I still think this is a really well done death. There's a lot that I like about this, starting with, now that we know the circumstances of how she died, looking back, all the foreshadowing there was to this. I mean, the big thing that I can think of was in the Under the Lake Before the Flood two-parter, and there was one point in that story where the Doctor looks at her very plainly and is like, stop trying to be me. Which was, I think, a very deliberate bit of foreshadowing, but it even reaches further back than that. Now, I don't think they'd been planning for her to die earlier than that. I mean, word was that what happened in The Last Christmas was planned as her exit, but then they tacked on the extra bit at the end when she decided she wasn't going to leave yet. So, I don't think that earlier stuff that we saw in Series 8 was actually planned to foreshadow to her eventual death, but I think they figured out a death that would allow them to reach into things further back and have it seem like foreshadowing, because in Series 8, there were various points where she really kind of took on the role of the Doctor, and you could see her trying to be him, trying to emulate him, and at one point even claiming that she was him. I mean, granted, it was a bit of subterfuge in that instance, but you look back at all of that and it's like, yeah, this has been leading up to this kind of end for her. And I really like what she says to the Doctor, that she tells him not to take revenge, because if any Doctor needed to be told, don't lash out as a result of this, he needed to be told that. And that's sort of where her understanding of him, which is the very thing that led to her dying, also just really feeds into this moment very well, because she's like, I know you're going to be sad. I know you're going to be angry. You should not be traveling alone. It's not good for you. And I really hope that he takes all this to heart, because I don't want him, in the wake of Clara dying, to be too much of a repeat of David Tennant after Donna was gone, where he's just on his own. You see him sort of going a little bit further and further and darker than where he should be. I mean, Capaldi's dark enough as it is, so I kind of don't necessarily want to see that taken. And I think her ordering him to basically not do that gives us a very good reason why he won't go down that path, even though it's logical for him to, because he's going to honor what she said to him. At least I hope he is. Now, as much as I did like all of that, I do have to say that her actual death was a little cheesy. Basically, the point from which she stepped out of that door onto the street and everything went into slow motion and the music swelled up, it was a little overdone. It didn't kill the moment, but it did honestly take some of the power out of it for me, and how badly the show just felt like it was shaking me and going, cry, damn it! But overall, I have to say that was a really wonderfully handled death. Now, that's not the only thing that goes on in this episode. We get Isildur back again, or me, or whatever you want to call her. She doesn't get highlighted in this one as much as she did last time we saw her, but I mean, ultimately it becomes an episode about Clara dying, so I mean, having her being the highlight would have taken away from that, so it makes sense. I like the way she was integrated, especially on the note at which things end between her and the Doctor. I really do hope that we get to see her at least one more time. Have her show up once in Series 10. I would really appreciate that. Rigsy was good and was fine, but honestly, he didn't bring a ton to the table. It could have been anybody. I think they just picked Rigsy because logistically, like, well, he got the number, he can call them, cool, that makes it easy. That said, I do really like the spray paint job he gave to the TARDIS as the little sort of post note on the whole thing. I like the whole mystery aspect of the story too, before it all sort of gets overtaken with Clara's death, which again, not a criticism, but the earlier aspects like, what is going on and why is it going on and how did this happen? And obviously, we're left hanging, where was the Doctor sent to? Why? Who sent him there? And I'm really going to be excited to find out the answers to that. I like the idea of that sort of street in general, this sort of safe haven for aliens. Given that we were already dealing with Zygons hiding in plain sight, it feels slightly redundant to that, but they kind of address that by having Yshildr actually kind of point out, would you rather we were like the Zygons and just out there where we could cause havoc? So it helped that they made that distinction. There were lots of little touches, mostly visual, that, across this episode that I really liked too. The little flashes that the guys who looked like police were in fact Judoon. Or here's something I wonder if anybody else caught. That sort of stasis field that the woman that was supposedly murdered was being kept in, that looked an awful lot like the Master's prison in the Doctor Who TV movie, the one that Paul McGann was the Doctor in. I don't know if that was intentional, but I really hope it was. So I guess the question that I'll throw out there is, what for you has been the saddest companion exit? Not necessarily death, and it doesn't have to be in the modern era. In the entirety of Doctor Who that you have seen, what do you feel was the saddest exit for a companion? For me, it's not going to be Clara, because while I think this death was handled very well, I wasn't sorry to see her go, so didn't make me cry. For me, it's probably Donna, but let's hear from you. Saddest companion exit. Whatever it is, drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. Until next time, this council is adjourned.